What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about the 25th anniversary of Cruel Intentions. Of course we are, because there's also an Amazon series called Cruel Intentions. So this does have audio description. It's kind of underwhelming, to be honest, but it kind of hit the right. It hit some of the marks that it needed to hit. So I wasn't like always underwhelmed, but there were some things where I was like, I've seen this movie a lot, you know. And rewatching Cruel Intentions, I really loved it. And man, everybody sounds young. Like I had a hard time picking out voices. It's funny how Selma Blair doesn't sound like Selma Blair. I'm like, oh my god, I'm used to like even her older voice. I feel like I've heard it more than this, but yet Sarah Michelle Gellar is like her voice is like trapped in time. I'm so used to hearing her in that Buffy phase. So like she stood out to me, but like even Ryan Philippe is uh yeah, just Ryan Phillippe or whatever is it just sounds so young. Like everybody sounds really young in this. Joshua Jackson sounds really young. Anyway, this has an exceptional cast. I already mentioned Ryan, Sarah, Josh, Selma, but we've got Reese Witherspoon. We've got Sean Patrick Thomas. Tara Reid is in this. They've got some adults. They brought some adults along to flesh out the cast. So Louise Fletcher, um, Christine Baranski, Swootsy Kurtz. Oh, and Eric Mabius is in this before he ends up in Ugly Betty. And later, I believe, was in Ugly Betty. So, yes, a pretty strong cast, directed by Roger Kumble, and this is a classic. There's even a Cruel Intentions musical, and Bittersweet Symphony has, like, I think everybody is associated with this film. It's it's a film that I'm sure like critics are like, why is everybody still talking about Cruel Intentions? Like, I don't know, because it's fun. This feels like the fun version of like 50 Shades of Grey. Like I think it's actually slightly better, like acted, well written, and that kind of stuff than 50 Shades is. If you're trying to get like a sexy thriller in there, sort of like a drama, whatever. Um, and Some of the performances are memorable. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar is really good. Of course, I also have seen the TV series, and the girl that plays her is clearly influenced by her, but she's also doing a good job. Same thing with Ryan, like in Sebastian's role, the guy that's playing the opposite of him in the TV series is also clearly influenced heavily by choices that Ryan made, but he's also doing a fine job there. And so on and so forth. Like the big differences feel like that they changed a lot with Cece. Like Selma Blair's Cece is really dumb here, and she's only a little dumb in the other one. She actually has these moments where she comes out with these big speeches in the TV show and talks, and you're like, wow, she's intelligent. Here, you never get that. Sean Patrick Thomas's like music teacher became like a professor basically in the TV series, so he's a completely different character. And yeah, that's in. There's some obviously some new characters that don't have anything to line up with in this series, in the movie, that are in the series. Um, it's it's a fun movie, and I love watching it over and over. I remember what the case looks like. I remember they tried to make a TV series, and then it became Cruel Intentions 2 when the series was not picked up, and they kind of took and clipped it together and made it somehow into a straight-to-video movie that they think is a sequel, but it's really just intended for TV adaptation. So, uh, what you get here is like lots of quotable lines that are really funny, and like I knew all of them were coming too. Like I remember, yeah, like of course, which they changed in the series. Sarah's line of "You could put it anywhere you want." Just back in 1999, I was a teenager, just going like, "Oh my god, what am I watching? What is happening here?" Um, it was rated R. I mean, it wasn't like aimed at. You did have to sneak in. Like or get a parent to buy you a ticket or whatever. But like I was not old enough to technically see Cruel Intentions at the time in which I saw Cruel Intentions. Didn't stop me because it's obviously a film that's aimed at that audience. It's funny when you make R-rated movies that are clearly aimed at a certain audience. Like you know who's going to show up, so don't play. Don't play around with that R rating. Don't So, um, but I think I in these little anniversary retouches where I talk about a movie that means anything to me, if it means anything to me, whatever. I also ask the question: did it stand that? Yes, it did stand the test of time. Clearly, there wouldn't be a musical and a TV series. They wouldn't have tried to make a follow up with Cruel Intentions 2. They wouldn't have later done the fan musical. That you know other people can, like your regional theaters and stuff like that, can produce Cruel Intentions the musical. I've had friends that have been in Cruel Intentions the musical, uh, and then now the TV show. So, and the funny thing is, it's an adaptation itself of Dangerous Liaisons. So this is a very specific test of time, because what you're doing is you're saying that this version of this story is what people are resonating with, not necessarily as much Dangerous Liaisons, which has been adapted. I know Stars did a TV series. I think Netflix had a remake of it that I feel like I saw it, but then it was like in French, so I couldn't watch it. Um, so it in itself has had continued to have its own life, but it just doesn't have the same vibe, as Cruel Intentions does, where it feels like, I mean, how many times do you get like the initial work and then also the adaptation of it, but both still sort of have life in them? They're kind of like the same thing, but they both have life. And it would be like if we kept remaking, um, like The Departed, like if that turned into a TV show and a musical, and then they remade it. But then, of course, at the same time, we were still making like Infernal Affairs adaptations. Like that would be, I guess. So when you think about it, it's like it's very few and far between that happens. It's more likely that there was something and then the adaptation takes off, and then we get that. But even with some things where you think it would take off, when you think about like La Cage aux Folles, there's a sequel to that. There's a film sequel to that. There's also the musical. It's called La Cage aux Folles. There is no The Birdcage musical, and there's no sequel to The Birdcage. So while the English language remake of that was really successful, it also didn't go anywhere. So, yeah, it's definitely something that could have, but just did not. So no TV series, no nothing for The Birdcage. There's just The Birdcage. So there are examples like that too throughout film. And Cruel Intentions, I think a lot has to do with casting, because when you look at the cast, first of all, when you look at the adult cast, what an excellent trio of supporting ladies. Louise Fletcher, Academy Award winner for playing Nurse Ratched. You've got Christine Baranski, who, just excellent in everything. I mean, her career is still powering through, Emmy nominated. Switzy Kurtz, obviously, at the time, was also a major sort of presence on TV. And then the young cast, like basically everyone they picked went on to do shit. Like everyone was already famous for something or went on to do huge things. Reese Witherspoon, of course, is an Academy Award winner for Walk the Line. Ryan is still acting. Sarah is still acting. I think she's got a new thing coming out. She was in that Wolfpack series for a while there, but I think I saw her attached to something else that's coming out soon. Selma obviously had been acting for a while. Last time we saw her on was Dancing with the Stars. She's obviously suffering from, she's battling MS, and trying to get through that, along with Christina Applegate. So, um, but Joshua Jackson, he's on Dr. Odyssey. I mean, Sean Patrick Thomas. I've definitely seen him still in things. So these actors have continued on. I don't know what Eric Mendes is doing. I assume he's still acting, just to not break my record here. And Tara Reid with the Sharknado franchise. So, yeah, it's still a thing. So it may be a bittersweet symphony, and um, this was a blast to take this trip out down memory lane. I've seen this movie. This is a desert island movie for me. I've seen this movie. God knows, I don't know, but I hadn't seen it in a few years. It's definitely been at least 5 plus, and this is a movie I've seen. I'm safely saying north of 10 times. I if 15, like if there was like some sort of like truth little thing that I could hit and be like, so like a version of one of our AI devices that I could just be like, what is, and it would tell me like the true answer to things. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 15. I don't think it's more than that. I think it's probably somewhere between 10 and 15 times I've seen Cruel Intentions. So I do love to put it on, and I do enjoy it. And it's very sort of, I know it's not like awards baity. And I know like it's kind of very much a guilty pleasure. It's very odd that every time I go on Apple and I always see it listed as independent. I'm like, why is this an independent film? But um, it pops up anytime like trends into the top 100. It's always listed as independent as a genre. It's like, this is go away. This is not independent. Can you see this? Can you see this at Sundance? Like, no, this is not an independent film. Um, but it's one I like. So I'm giving Cruel Intentions an A+. That's what I do for most of my desert islands, so that way I'm not even hiding my taste. It doesn't even like, I've lost the ability to debate the quality of the movie because it's a happy movie for me. It's a happy place. I enjoy it, even though the ending is tragic and stuff, but I like it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Check out Cruel Intentions, the TV show. I think it's actually a fairly good adaptation, and I hope it gets a second season. We will see you guys on the other side.